Would you say are the things people should be looking out for before buying a property in Nigeria?
First of all, they need to be sure that it is not, because again, um, based on the Land Use Act and and how property is administered in Nigeria, all land belongs to government. The state government, not even federal, right? So what it means is that if you're buying land, you are basically government is basically giving it to you in trust. You're holding it in trust for the government, so to say. Right? The government can wake up tomorrow and say that land that we gave you, we want to use it for something, and they just give you a compensation for it and take it over. Right? Even if it is bona fide yours, because ultimately the land belongs to the government.
Right.
Right? So what you need to do, the very first thing before you buy land is to be sure that that government is not part of government, is not under government acquisition. So what that means is that it is not in an area that government has designated for something,
Okay.
right?
Mm.
Because especially in Lagos and in a lot of in a lot of states, right, a lot of the master plans are already done. They've been done for decades. There are areas that are already designated as farm areas, right? There are areas that are already designated as public parks. We're going to have a public park here, and all these things with markings and surveys. Everything has been done.
So you can verify that with
So
the housing ministry.
Exactly, you can verify that with the Ministry of Lands. You can verify that with the Surveyor General's office in every state.
Mm.
So the very first thing to do is to be sure that that land is not under government acquisition, right? Now, verifying these things take a lot of time and a lot of money, right? So maybe not a lot of money, because a lot of money is subjective depending on who you are talking to,
Yes.
right? But let's say anywhere between 150,000 naira to 250,000, right? So a lot of people are unwilling to do that upfront verification, and I quite understand why. If you are looking at three different properties, you can't go start paying to do verification.
Mm.
That means you are probably going to pay 750, give or take, to verify before you now make a decision and buy the land for maybe 1 million.
Yes.
Right? So I understand the reluctance. So that reluctance now makes a lot of people simply just trust what the real estate companies say, which is also in and of itself wrong, because you can't just take them for their word. Especially, let me say this, especially the new guys, right? Even some of the old guys, to be honest, right? You can't just take them for their word. It's important that you do verifications. It's important that you Google the name of that area. You want to see whether there are issues that have emanated from buying property in that area. Right? Because once there is, that should raise a red flag, and you should start asking a lot of questions, because you are putting a lot of money down for these things. That's number one. Number two is you need to understand the documentation that the land you want to buy has, because there are several stages of documentation, right? So there is the survey, which anybody can do. Now, the survey has to be registered. So that's why you see some people say registered survey.
Okay.
So the survey gets registered. When the survey gets registered, the real estate company can now apply for an excision. So what they're basically saying is, government, all right, we now want you to grant us permission to sell this. The government will now look at the archive and know whether that area is designated for habitation. Maybe is it designated for people to live in? If it is, they can now grant that excision.
Okay.
If it's not, they will tell you no, we can't. Right? So let's assume that they do, and these things take a lot of time, because our process in Nigeria are very, very slow. So they can take anywhere between 6 to 18 months.
Oh.
Right? So if it is true, then the government will now grant the excision and gazette it. It's only after it has been, some states don't gazette, it just grant the excision, and the governor can give his approval by signing the certificate of occupancy.
Okay.
So it can either go. So once it's excised,
Yes.
that is the only time a CFO can be granted for it. Now, if the land already has a CFO, then that's the best, because now it is sure that really there's really nothing that can happen, right?
Yeah.
So if the excise has been granted and CEO hasn't been, it is also equivalent to, because it has been excised anyway, right? It is just the process, the delay in the process that is making the CFO not to be available yet.
Okay.
Because routinely the governors refuse to sign CFOs because real estate is a political bargaining chip.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of them refuse, even when the land has been excised, a lot of them don't sign the CFOs.
Okay.
They just keep it there and then play politics with it until a new administration comes in, and it can continue from there, or the new person can just sign. For example, the former governor of Lagos just signed CFOs his first year. Every other thing that was excised after his first year never got a CFO till now. So, right, so the current governor is very likely going to sign a new set of CFOs too, right? So this is how these things go, right? So it takes time, anywhere between 6 to 18 months to get to the point where it gets the CFO. Now, if the land has just a survey, you have to be very, very wary, because it's not even gotten to excision yet, because it might never get excised. And if it doesn't get excised, you're basically just throwing your money away if it doesn't get excised, because it can, right? And the very reason why you need to do the very first set of be sure that it's not under government acquisition. You at that point also you will know what that area has been designated for. For example, in Ekpe, lots of the land in Ekpe are designated for farmlands, but people are selling it for residential buildings.
Oh.
And the people who buy those lands there will never take possession of it. Never. Not going to happen.
Wow.
Never going to happen. Because they are designated as farm area. Unless the government wakes up and changes that designation to residential.
As of now.
But as of now, and I doubt they will, because these things are made provision of. The idea is also, when there are farm areas, people can set up farms in those areas so that they can feed the city. That is the essence of having farm areas. Yes. Otherwise, if you build houses everywhere and people can't find food, what's the point?
That's the problem.
Exactly. So doing that first check will help you know, what's this area even designated for, right? Is it for is it under an area that government has mapped out for something, maybe for farmland, maybe for public works, maybe for public utility? You need to know.
I guess that's what we see with when government wants to build build roads and all, then they demolish houses.
And then people come out and scream and shout, government is wicked. Yeah, maybe they were wicked in demolishing it, but what are they to do anyway? You were not supposed to build anything here from day one. It was your job to be certain before you spent money buying land there. So if you go buy land there, it's not the government's business. Right? So they would need to build something. So it's like the new coastal road, right?
Yes.
That has been constructed now. They're demolishing a lot of things along that road. If your house is anywhere alongside it, well, sorry, but it's going to go away and you're not going to get compensated for it. Doesn't matter how long you go to court and argue, you are always going to lose because you were supposed not to ab initio, right? So, I was talking about the excision area. It is dependent on that land being excised, right? So if the land is within areas that government has mapped out for residential, government will now say, okay, we excise it. Because when you apply for excision, you have to tell them the reason why you want it excised. Is it for residential? Is it for farmland?
Okay.
You understand? And if you say it's for farmland, but you go and build residential, they will still demolish it.
Oh.
Because you gave them a wrong reason. So if it's just a survey, it is very likely that it will still not get excised. So the safe lands should be lands that are already excised. Least, at the very least, you already have an excision, and the CFO is pending. Because now we know it's just politics that is stopping it. Exactly.
And it couldn't be reversed. The excision couldn't be reversed.
Again, it depends. Maybe governments will say, we have new plans, so we need to build something, and this area is part of it. So
then you might be compensated.
You are going to be compensated because they've granted the excision.
Anyway. Okay.
Yeah.